Welcome back. So in this video we're going to take our bamboo material and essentially make it into a bamboo node that we can use and create a variety of different versions of the same material. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by grabbing all our scale values and we'll just tweak those. So what we want to do is grab, let's see, math nodes. And we want to use one of these for each of these noises. So just grab each one of these and duplicate them down. Just using Shift D. And then we want to grab our scale value here, which is 75.5. We'll just plug this in, 75.5, 80, 120, 240 and 191.7, and we just want to make sure each of these are at multiply. And I'm sure we've done this before in a previous video. We're just going to grab now a value. I'm going to set this to 1. We're just going to plug it into each of the second slots. So essentially we're taking that value, multiplying it by 1. So the same value is being used as is in each of these scales, and then we just have to grab this value, 191.7, and plug it into the scale. You can see no changes whatsoever to the actual noise texture on our material. It's exactly the same as it should be. Okay, so we have all those set. And now if we actually look at our material and we want to change the scale, let's say we want to change that scale to 0.2. It essentially has the effect of zooming in by 5 times, or if we want to change it to something like 3, we get an even finer grain because it's zoomed in even further. For the moment we'll just leave that at 1. That seems to be working fine. Now when we turn this into a node group, what we actually want to do is have a value going into each of these values. So again, I'm going to grab a math node. I'm going to make each of these 1, multiply, and we'll plug this in to these second values, not to those second values, into these first values, I should say. Let's break all of these values. In fact, let's just get rid of that entirely. Let's get rid of this entirely. Let's just plug these in properly. I should have done this the first time around, to be honest. I forgot I was actually making this into a node group. So we have all these plugged in. We have a value of 1 and a value of 1. That's fine. I'm just going to do an input value node here. I'm just going to set this to 1. Plug it in the top. The second one, we're going to plug that into the node group. And that's essentially going to be called a scale. And that's going to control the overall scale for all 5 of these noises. Now, let's see, is there anything else we want to change? We could definitely grab the bump strength and put that into our node group. We can grab our blend and put that into our node group. Same as with our roughness and things like that. The colour's going to be a little bit tricky to tweak. What I would say we could do with that is to grab a mix RGB node and plug this in here, and instead of using mix, use something like colour. And by colouring something 0.5 or any value of this mid grey, you actually don't get any effect at all if we start going into red. and then plugging in that factor, that's when we start to get different shades. If we go to black and we increase that again, you see there's still no difference. Colour only works on saturation. So let's keep this value at say 0.5, and what we can do is we can take this and plug that into our node group, and we can have a slider for intensity of colour adjustment and the colour itself. And as far as the overall lightness or darkness of this, let's grab another colour mix RGB node. This time we'll go to multiply, we'll take the factor all the way down, and what we'll do is we'll just put in black here, and that allows us to have a slider to basically darken up this material. Now, the way multiply is working, it's essentially darkening up all these colours. So you may want to use something other than multiply, maybe darken itself would be a good shout. It really depends on you. I think for our, well, not dodge, burn gives you a more saturated version. I think we'll stick probably with multiply, but again we can use those to control the hue of the actual bamboo, and one for the multiply, which will be the darkness and lightness, which we'll be using in the next video. So as far as that goes, I think that's everything that we'll need to connect. Just have a wee look at some of these other masks. The screen effect, that's the amount of grain at the side. I think we can actually keep that the way it was. I think it was about 0.6 or so, something around that value. The mask we don't need to worry about. None of these settings we need to worry about. Things like the detail and distortion don't really come into it too much. The same with this mix, we may take that out and use that in the node group. The roughness here we may use in the node group as well. So let's actually start working on this. So let's break this up, and let's essentially just grab everything here, and we'll use Control G, and that gives us our node group, and we'll hit tab, and there we go, we have our node group now. We'll call this bamboo node, and let's go back into it using tab. We'll open up our properties panel here, and we have our output, our group output, which we'll connect our shader to. And we have our group input, so let's do our first one. So let's grab this value and plug this in here, and this value is going to be scale. So we have that set, and we'll just use this default as it is. Now let's see what is the next setting we want to use. Let's move this over so we can connect it a little bit easier. So let's do our bump map. So we're going to use bump strength. So the strength is going to be, well, let's call it normal strength. Let's move up here, and let's plug in this colour, and this is going to be colour tint. This factor, which is going to be tint amount. Let's see, this next one is going to be, well, this is actually going to be lighten or darken, so we'll call this lighten darken, and we'll get the amount, and we'll call this lighten darken amount, so we'll just call this L/G amount. Let's see, what else do we want to change? Let's go with the glossy, And let's see, we'll just call this roughness. Let's just call this roughness. And let's grab this blend amount and plug this in here. And we'll just call this Fresnel amount. And I think that's pretty much everything that we're going to connect together there. Let me move this back to the front so that it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so I think everything actually should be working fine, so let's hit tab. Let's move this over next to our material output and let's plug in our shader and see what effect we get. There we go, that seems to be working fine. Let's close down Properties tab and open up our render preview a little bit larger. Okay, so let's darken it a little bit, so dark amount. And that's darkening it, excellent. Tint amount, not doing anything at the moment because we've not added a colour. So let's grab a colour, let's just grab a green, and it seems to be tinting it fine. So at 0 we don't have any tint. At 1 we have a full green colour, excellent, so that's working fine. Let's see, normal strength, as we increase that we get more of the normal map, excellent. Let's keep that at 0.1, and our scale, increase, decrease. Let's take that to 1. Yep, tiny scale. And let's put it back to our default. Oh sorry, before it was 0.1, now it's 1. That's working fine. Let's take that roughness. Let's try 0.3. Yep, that seems to be working fine. Fresnel amount. Now the Fresnel amount here looks like it might be a little bit tricky. So let's jump back in. Let's see if we can do something to fix this Fresnel amount. So let's grab a math node, plug this in here. Now we're going to use multiply. Now I believe this mix is 0.5 and we want to have a value here. So let's think about this. If this blend is 0.5 and we're adding a value of 1, we're getting 1. If it's 2 and we're doing 2 times 0.5, that's going to jump straight to 1, so blend isn't going to work the way we want there. So let's think about this. Let's actually mix this with another colour. Or in fact what we could do is we could grab a math node, plug this in here, multiply this. Let's grab another math node, make this 0.5, multiply, plug this in here. Let's get rid of this node, and instead of switching that blend we'll switch this multiply. So let me grab this and bring this up. So instead of Fresnel amount being this blend value, we're going to take it and make it this value here. So let's look at what we have. Now we can't actually check that, so let me cancel this here. So let's see, Fresnel amount. This level here, this blend isn't working. Okay. Let's jump back out and see if this Fresnel amount is now working. I do believe it is working, but we need to switch our values a little bit. So Fresnel amount at the moment we have a maximum and minimum, 0 and 0.5. Let's keep the minimum at 0 and let's take the maximum to 20. And the default value, let's say 0.5 or so at the moment, that's fine. Let's go back out. Let's increase this a little bit. And you see we're getting the Fresnel effect coming in a lot better there. Now at a certain level, let's see, we're just pretty much getting the mirror finish. Let's see where that is. It's probably about 10. So let's go back in and take that maximum and make that maximum 10. And let's take the default value, and yeah, we'll just keep that at 0.5. So let's take this, let's make it 1, have a look. That looks okay, let's increase it a little bit. In this case, I think about 0.25 is probably just about right. That's probably just about what we had originally. It's never an exact science. Well, I suppose it actually is an exact science. It's mathematics when you're creating these node groups, but sometimes the whole kind of idea of it just escapes you just a little bit. But that node group is now working fine, so what I'm going to do is hit F. That saves it to file, even if it's not on an actual object. And in the next video, we'll make a checker mask for this object, and we'll use a couple of different versions of this node group to basically texture it.